Now that you have completed your one-point perspective drawing, it's time to start coloring it. Before you begin coloring, I would encourage you to go ahead and erase just a little bit of your lines in case they're just a little bit too dark. If they're too dark, then what can happen is when you go to color, that graphite will bleed into some of your colors. So if you notice some of your lines are a little bit dark, I'd maybe erase them just a little bit to make them a little bit lighter. The other thing that you need to erase is your horizon line and your vanishing point out of your drawing. Once you've done that, then it's time to start choosing your color choices in order to correctly color your project. It's also important to start thinking about where you want your light source to come from. The easiest place to put your light source is inside of what I kind of think of as the chandelier. So I'm going to imagine that my light source is coming from the inside underneath this shape here. So that means that it's going to be lighter towards the bases or the bottom of my little forms and shapes, and it's going to be darker up towards the top. When I go to choose colors, again, you can use different color schemes to make unique or interesting color schemes. With this one, I'm going to do a red to a red-orange to an orange. In this one, I'm going to do a yellow to a yellow-green and a green. And if you really want to get kind of funky with it, you could go ahead and this would be just a little bit of an offshoot of complementary colors, blue and orange. These are some tints and a little bit of a tint and shade for those color combos. So you could definitely do that. You could do warm colors, you could do cool colors. The choices here are endless when you go to start using your color schemes. So I'm going to begin right here in the middle on my first shape here. And again, if I think about this shape, I can either choose to make it feel like it's just very thin and I could see the light very at the bottom here, so then it would be very, very light. However, if I want to make it solid, that means that the middle of my project, this would be a spot where no light is hitting, so it'd be a core shadow, and this is where then I would go ahead and I would make it really, really dark all the way through on the top part here. I'm going to choose to do the first route just to show you a little bit of blending techniques. So I'm going to start here in the middle, and I'm going to start coloring a little bit more in a starburst pattern, or as we know it, radial pattern. So I'm just going outwards from the middle and just pausing and changing my hand placement as I need to. This is really important that you create kind of the starburst effect on this first one, because if you don't, it might look a little funky when you go to actually look at it. We want it to feel like you could look down into the tube. And I'm just doing this lightly. It's important when you're putting your first layer on that you just do it lightly. It's okay to not have your first color end all at the same spot. So you'll notice in mine it kind of ends out here, and then it ends here, and then it kind of ends way up here on this spot. That'll make it much easier to blend when we go to our second color. So now that I'm ready to, I'm going to go ahead to my second color, and I'm going to work from the edge of the shape and work my way in. Again, I'm just starting really, really light. I'm keeping that same starburst pattern. And I do want to overlap with my first color just a little bit. Again, you can always change the direction of the paper if you need to in order to color more effectively. If you accidentally go outside the lines, just take a moment and you can just erase it out. This is why we're drawing or coloring super light right now. Now that I have it colored lightly, I'm going to go ahead and add the next layer in. So now I can go in and start just making it a little bit darker. You'll notice that I used the yellow on the inside, and I used the yellow on the inside because I knew that, again, I wanted my light source to come from the middle. So keep that in mind as you continue to color your project. When you do the exterior color, again, it's going to be a little bit darker at the top. So I always like to start where it's darkest first. Some of you like to think the other way, so you could start nice and light and work your way darker. Either is fine. The last step is to go through and just make sure you have really crisp, solid edges. This can be done by simply kind of going through and creating an outline. However, we don't want it to be a super huge outline. You do want to blend it back out. So just adding a little bit of a blend area, overlapping where you outlined and pulling it into the center where it's lighter will make it look a little less like we just outlined the project. Right, and there you go. That is how you need to blend and color the remaining pieces of your 1-point perspective drawing.